Yo guys, what is good? Welcome back on the Uncle Sharma channel. You guys know what time it is. Scout report time. Time to put on the scout report glasses and hat and scout potentially what looks to be Inter's new left wing back to replace Robin Gosens, and that is Carlos Augusto. Carlos Augusto, of course, the left wing back we are signing from Monza. The deal is supposed to be around 13 to 15 million euros, loan with obligation to buy, confirmed yesterday by Adriano Galliani, the sporting director of Monza. So, of course, we never know until the deal is done that the deal is done, but looks like he will be our new left wing back. So let's take a look at who is this guy. So first of all, Carlos Augusto, born in January 1999 in Sao Paulo, Brazil, came through the Corinthians Youth Academy and then was signed by Monza from Corinthians in 2020. Funnily enough, actually, Corinthians still own 40% resale value of Augusto. So now that Inter are signing him for about 30 to 15 million, Corinthians are actually making around 5 million euros from this deal. It's similar to kind of how Benfica recently signed Trubin, 40% resale value. That's basically like a co-ownership deal. Very smart. Funny backstory about Augusto. Back home in Brazil, according to himself, actually, in an interview, said that his friends back home call him Gamba di Leño, which translated means wooden leg, because he was supposed to be the worst out of his friends at playing football. And it's funny how he actually turned out to be the professional footballer out of all of them. But I guess probably, I imagine the standards back in Brazil are probably a little bit higher. All these little Ronaldinhos and Roberto Carlos out in those Brazilian streets, I can imagine. So anyway, back to the actual signing. So why did Inter sign him when you already have Robin Gosens? Well, in my opinion, there's two reasons. The main one, obviously, we know with Inter these days, money saving. Robin Gosens going out for 15 million euros to what it looks like to Union Berlin will save money to Inter in terms of Robin Gosens' wages, which were cost Inter around 5 million euros gross every year. Carlos Augusto, we haven't got the confirmed details yet, but he will be earning less thanks to growth decree benefits and on the books with the obligation to buy. He will be costing less on the books to Inter. And of course, he also has an Italian passport, which helps with, UEFA lists and the fact that he doesn't take up a non-EU list for Inter as well. So there's that little benefit there from Augusto. And the other reason, which is, the main one, what we care about, I think the management, and I think Inzaghi probably does as well, he is a better fit for Inzaghi's system and this Inter team compared to Robin Gosens, and we'll get into the reasons why in a moment. Our sporting director, Piero Ausili, actually has been keeping tabs on him for a little while. I remember reading links about Augusto even when Monza were in Serie B a couple of seasons ago, and looks like he's finally got his man. He was actually, Ausilio was spotted just a few days ago at Milan versus Monza pre-season game, and now I guess we know why he was there. And Augusto actually was kind of impressive in that game. I remember a specific run that he made to set up the goal for Colpani. Shows pretty much what he's all about, that ball carrying ability, that running power, but also final ball output as well, which we will talk about. So now let's take a look at some of the statistics and let's get into the scout report. Of course, as usual, we are using FBref to bring up some of his key statistics. And Augusto, as you can see, shines when it comes to output. This guy last season put up 6 goals and 5 assists in Serie A, which is really, really good numbers. Especially when you think it's a team that finished 11th in the league. Very, very impressive. In the previous season in Serie B, he only registered 3 goals and 1 assist, which means he more than doubled his output when he came up. Stepped up to a much better league. 0.18 goals per 90 puts him in the top 6% of fullbacks in the top 5 leagues in Europe. 0.32 goals and assists per 90. Again, really, really impressive numbers. And actually, he's only 24, by the way. A lot of people, I think, because of his looks, think he's a bit older than he is, but actually he's 24. So again, there's another reason why Inter are swapping a 29-year-old Gosens for a 24-year-old Augusto as well. Now let's look at his in possession numbers. And now here, this is where you can see they're not particularly impressive. And if I had to describe him as a player, like, this is the thing, when these scout reports are, sometimes I have to do them on players that I haven't watched, and sometimes on players that I watch a lot. And Augusto falls in the latter category. I watched quite a bit of Monza last season. I found them quite an entertaining team. I thought Palladino was an excellent coach, and Augusto was impressing me as well. If I had to describe him as a player, I would describe him as a mix between Di Marco and Gosens. So he's got the powerful running of Gosens, but also a little bit of that clunkiness. He's not the cleanest technically. Usually, anyway, he's definitely a little bit more effective than Gosens technically. And he's got a bit of the left foot of Di Marco, but nowhere near as educated as Di Marco. And he's kind of in between both of them in terms of physically, not as imposing as Gosens or as ripped as a physical specimen as Gosens, but he's definitely superior to Di Marco in terms of strength, pace, physicality, and height. So his in possession numbers are anything impressive. You kind of see this when you watch him play. He's not very easy on the eye, as I mentioned. That's maybe why his friends call him a wooden leg. He's got a bit of a clunky running style, but it is effective. His numbers here mostly similar to Gosens, aside from take-ons, 1.78 per 90 with a 54% success rate. We're looking at Gosens. Gosens only attempted a 1.17, and his success rate was an awful 38% success. So that shows you there the main difference between the two. But also we have to remember Augusto played over 3,000 minutes last season, and Gosens, on the other hand, injuries, and of course Di Marco being preferred to him, he only played around 1,500 minutes. So the numbers, again, you have to take those into account. Gosens comes on a lot of the time as a second half substitute, or he barely ever completes 90 minutes, whereas Augusto is pretty much completing 90 minutes most of the time. Another difference is the progressive carries. 2.54 per 90 for Augusto compared to 1.96 compared to Gosens, although Augusto gets dispossessed a lot more, as you can see down there in the figures. I think this is the aspect that I think Inter signed him for, and this is what I'm looking forward to the most watching Augusto. Not that he's some sort of dribbling wizard. He's definitely, he's Brazilian, but he's not like, Marcelo or Dani Alves or any kind of, Brazilian fullback like that. He has enough power, a bit of guile, to either get past his man or just a little bit enough to get his cross in against closed defenses. And that's where, we've seen Gosens struggled, especially when we come up against closed defenses, when, teams are defending with 9-10 men behind the ball. That's where Gosens struggled. And this is where I hope Augusto will be doing a little bit better. His running power and ability to carry the ball, though, also should help Inter in transitions, gives Inter a different dimension. We've seen with the signings of the likes of Fratesi, Thuram, Bisek. Inter are adding younger, but most importantly, more athletic, a bit more pace into the team, and he fits the bill on that level as well. So it gives Inzaghi a different weapon to use during the game if he wants to counter-attack or be more effective on transitions. Starting to look at his defensive numbers. Again, this guy can also play as a centre-back. Sometimes he's played as in one of the three centre-back positions for Monza. He's 6 foot tall, 1.84 meters, so he actually can hold his own. And you can see his aerial duel ability is actually really, really impressive. I was surprised to see 1.66 aerials won with a 63% aerial win percentage, which puts him in a really high percentile. And yeah, I wonder whether he is going to be used as a centre-back sometimes, because we know in the past Inzaghi used Di Marco in his first season as, makeshift centre-back at times, or even as an impact substitute as a centre-back. And, we're still lacking, in reality, we're still lacking one centre-back in the Inter squad. We still haven't replaced Skriniar. Is Augusto signing also some sort of cover for centre-back? We'll see. I think he'll be a bit wasted. I think all his best abilities are in the final third, so he'll be a bit wasted in the centre-back position, but it's definitely a position he can cover. So let's see how Inzaghi uses him. Overall, his defensive numbers look pretty average overall. As you can see here, he doesn't really stand out in anything, but FBref for me is always, when it comes to defensive numbers, I don't use it really as a benchmark. For defenders, it really depends what type of team you play for. It affects your FBref numbers. So I don't think this tells really too much of a story to me. Although if you compare it to Gosens' numbers, his were superior. Now let's finish up using the MB data spider graph diagram. As you can see, if you compare him to Di Marco and to Gosens, we can see the differences between the three quite clearly. Gosens is best at getting involved defensively, high duel percentage, although we have to remember, again, Gosens came on mostly the second half sub. Augusto outperforms both Gosens and Di Marco in ball carrying, which is what we talked about an aspect that I'm excited about, and that dual percentage in the air. But there's some little red flags in terms of his crossing percentage. You can see it's very low, and progressive pass numbers. Is this due to his poor passing ability and crossing ability, or is it more due to Monza's playing style? Well, we'll have to find out about that. Regardless, it's an area that Augusto has to improve on. So yeah, overall, 13 to 15 million euro signing, loan with obligation, saving money on the books. I think as I said, I think he fits Inzaghi's system and Inter better than Robin Gosens. As much as I, appreciated Gosens, he was never my type of player, and neither is Augusto, just because he's not very easy on the eye. But this guy, guys, he's going to be a real hard worker. I can guarantee you that. This guy works his ass off. He's powerful. He's a dual winner. He's got humble beginnings. He's worked his way up to this moment. And I think he will be a good signing. But of course, you guys let me know in the comments down below. What did you make of the scout report? Did you disagree with something? It's not like what I say here is the truth. I'm using these statistics and what I've watched of Augusto in Serie A to make my opinion. But you guys may disagree with me, and I'm open to people that agree and disagree down below. But first of all, of course, you got to make sure you leave a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. See you on the next one. Let's see who in to sign next. Ciao ragazzi, always Forza Inter.